The festival workshop series. About a bit over a month back, Develop held our festival event, which was an online gig and art market that essentially welcomed in artists, creators, creatives from all around the Philippines. We raised over 50,000 pesos for the benefit of students who have been infected by the pandemic, helping them raise funds so that they can get back on track educationally. And in general, it was like I think a lovely celebration of just like music and art and creation. And it was overwhelming to see over 100 attendees immersing themselves in the work of other creatives. And it just shows that there's a lot that we can do, even if not monetarily. There's so much power in creating and using our skills for good. So super excited to have Mismoso for a pitch deck building workshop. And if you're interested in her work, we'll be sharing links on where you can follow her. And again, if you aren't in the Discord community for festival, feel free to join so you can find out more about our events and other creators and future workshops. So welcome again, everyone, and so excited to have you.
Okay, so hi guys. Um, Today I'll be showing you guys how to present a pitch deck. So that's my alias, Mismoso, or you can call me Renee, that's my name. So first off, wait, why won't it share? Okay, so this is our meeting agenda or presentation agenda for today. So we'll start by introductions and then we'll be defining what a pitch deck is. And then after that, we'll be setting our pitching goals. So what our goals are for the pitch deck and what the exact structure of a pitch deck is. And then lastly, what entails a pitch deck presentation. So a little bit about me. I'm Renee or Mismoso, but you can call me Renee. I prefer Renee. I'm a multimedia student and illustrator from Manila. I specialize in vector art, and my most used software is Adobe Illustrator, although I know a lot of people also use Procreate. And my IG handle is at m.smoso. So I'm studying to be a graphic designer and illustrator in the future, and I hope to either be part of the digital marketing world or the branding world. So, what exactly is a pitch deck? A pitch deck is a brief presentation of a business for clients and investors showcasing a business plan. Even though a pitch deck is mostly created for businesses and other clients, it can also be done for other creative markets. For example, in my case, we usually create pitch decks to prompt projects and other branding projects, so it's very visual. So if you're a freelance illustrator or a freelance graphic designer and you want to pitch something to a client, this is a good way for you to be knowledgeable or educated on how you can properly present what you want to give to your client. So, why is a pitch deck important? Pitch decks help sell your vision and your ideas to clients in a clear and concise manner, from marketing to branding. So it's important because even though as much as you want to sell your brand or sell what you want to give visually, you also have to note that not everyone is going to be a graphic designer or not everyone is going to have the same marketing background as you. So it's important that you make them know that these are the things that make this important. These are the things that will help sell this project. So, before we start on creating our pitch deck, we must first establish our pitching goals. So, what are the things that we want to establish and what are the goals that we want to achieve when we create a pitch deck? So, first off, who are we talking to? So, before anything else, you have to know your audience. There are multiple ways that you can know your audience, and there are multiple clientele that you can cater to. So, for example, you're pitching to a business, and the business is comprised of mostly men aged 45 and above. So, how are you going to cater to that audience? Of course, you have to change the way that you present it visually. You also have to make things a little bit bigger because some of them have poor eyesight. You also have to make sure that you use layman's terms, don't use jargons that they can't understand. So it's all about knowing who you're talking to, because the point of pitching something is for them to comprehend and understand what you're trying to tell them. Secondly, what do they need to know? Present only the most valuable information. Of course, as I mentioned before, not everyone is going to be a profession in your job. So use simple but concise information, because as much as you want to present everything at once, you also have to make sure that you're concise with what you're teaching them, you're concise with what you're giving to them, and that you know that whatever you're going to tell them, they will comprehend and they will understand. So only pitch to them what you think is the most important. Remember to leave out things that you don't think will give any bit of a benefit or any need to the project. And then lastly, what do you want to achieve? Include information that will help achieve your goal. So our last goal here is that you need to look intrinsically within yourself. So why am I pitching in the first place? Why am I doing this? You have to ask yourself, why am I pitching in the first place? What is the goal that I want to achieve from this? Is it because I want an investor to invest in my company? Is it because I want a client to get me as their illustrator? Just remember what goals you're trying to achieve, and from there, it'll give you a boost of passion and motivation, and it will keep reminding you why you're doing what you're doing and take the necessary steps into achieving that goal. So, in this particular instance, we'll be discussing pitch deck building on a market brand. So there are multiple ways that you can use a pitch deck, as I've mentioned before, but in this instance, I will be discussing how you're going to pitch a brand. So if you think of a brand, think of Starbucks, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all of them have their very original iconography, such as the Starbucks logo, the Coca-Cola font with the colors. So these are all of the things that brand them as their brands. So a pitch deck structure. So this is just a brief overview of what a pitch deck structure looks like. It looks a bit overwhelming for those who haven't seen or done a pitch deck structure. There are a lot of points. So this is just a simplified version of what a pitch deck is. There are definitely more in-depth type of pitch decks, but today I will only be presenting the basics. So first off, we have the introduction, the problem identification, the solution proposal, target market opportunity, marketing channels, media campaign, art direction, and brand application. So starting off with introduction. So the introduction is the most important and play a hand at your first impression. So like any presentation that you do, whether it's in school or in your business, it's very important that you introduce something with passion, with enthusiasm, because this is going to be the first impression that your client will get from you. They will ask things like, oh, what is this about? Will I understand it? Like, is it important? Is it engaging? This is where you present the premise of your project. So basically, you're giving your client an idea of what you're presenting to them. You don't have to vomit all of the information at once because it can be overwhelming for them. So make sure to give a brief but insightful information and insightful generalization of what you're talking about. So keep it short and sweet so it's easy to digest. Basically, as I've mentioned before, keep it very, very simple, but also keep it fulfilling and keep it insightful for them so that they're engaged with what you're talking about, but it also keeps them wanting more. So second, we have the problem identification. So when you're creating a project, of course, there's a problem that needs to be solved. So first off, you need to state your problem. Present what relevant issue you wish to tackle. So it's basically kind of like a research paper if you've ever done one. You have to address a certain topic or a certain problem. So think of it like Uber or Grab. So the problem that they're trying to solve here is the pickiness of some drivers who won't accommodate them. So the solution there is Uber. and the problem that they're trying to tackle is the convenience, maybe even traffic. And if you keep thinking about the problems that you want to solve and all of the things that can alleviate a problem, it will help you brainstorm more on the things that you can do for that solution. And then break down. It's much easier to break down your problem into points. When you're stating your problem, it's much easier to comprehend when you break them down into bullets. So, for example, one thing that you want to solve is world hunger. World hunger is a very large and vague problem. So you want to make that more specific. So for example, world hunger, and then you're going to put in the bullet world hunger, hunger in the Philippines, hunger in Mindanao, hunger in this specific ethnic group. So you have to be very specific with the problem that you want to tackle, which leads us to the last point, which is to cater your audience with the proper details. Of course, we want to be realistic with the problems that we want to solve. We want something that can alleviate a problem. So be specific with what problem you're trying to tackle, because that's what makes you unique. That's what makes your brand unique, is the fact that you're trying to be specific with the problem that you're trying to tackle and that you're trying to alleviate this problem. Next, here we have the problem of Airbnb. I took this from the pitch deck of Airbnb. So this is basically the problem they want to solve, which is price, hotels, and no easy way exits. So they did a very intelligent move here by putting emphasis on the words price, hotels, and no easy way exists, because this gives prominence on the problems that they want to tackle at first glance. So they want to tackle price, and just from looking at the bolded words, you can already have an idea of what they actually want to address. So again, as I've mentioned, put them into bullet points like they did here. They put them into individual sentences, so they're a problem of their own. Think basically an objective in your research paper, but in a presentation form. Next one is the solution proposal. So the solution proposal is basically the solution that you want to address for the problem. So the solution comes in the form of your product. So you are now given the opportunity to present your idea. So now that you've presented your problem, which is, for example, traffic, you're now here to present your solution, which is your product. And in this case, Uber. So expound on how and why your project can address your problem. What is it with Uber that makes it a solution for traffic? What is it with Uber that makes it different? What is it with Uber that can help me with my daily life? You have to put emphasis on how this can improve the quality of life for people. You need to emphasize the importance of your brand. We need to sell the brand and how we can value it. Because if you believe that your brand is valuable and it's significant, then you have to make your audience and your client believe it too. Even though we want it to be a solution oriented project, we also need to be feasible. So make your solutions realistic. We can't just say we're going to solve traffic for the entirety of the world. That's just unrealistic. But we can start by small goals by saying, oh, we can alleviate traffic in this certain area of the world, or we can alleviate traffic through this part of the world. So make goals, but make them feasible. So another example from Airbnb is of a solution, a web platform for where users can rent out their space to host travelers. So here they again made a bullet point or a columnar point of the solutions that they can provide through Airbnb. So they're saying that by using Airbnb and by catering to Airbnb, you save money, you make money, and you share culture. So you can already tell here that they're giving the benefits to the people. Like, oh, this is how you're going to benefit from our project. It's not more of how they're going to benefit from you, it's how you're going to benefit from them. Next one is target market opportunity. So in this part of the pitch deck structure, we'll be tackling more on the media and the marketing part. So here we have the target market. So a target market is basically the market that you want to reach for your brand. So research on the market opportunity. So for example, in the Philippines, you need to research on the economics of the people that you want to target, and you need to research on how they live and how they act and how they perceive and their buying habits. We'll get more onto this later, but for the most part, for you to have a clear idea of who your target market is, you need immense research on them. So again, know which market you're trying to reach. There are definite niches in each type of community. There will always be a market for something. You just need to know which one that is. Data. Provide the latest data to strengthen your claim. Of course, the world is constantly changing and the market is constantly changing, especially from technology, but providing data can help further back the audience that you're trying to target. And by presenting this in a pitch deck, it'll help your client be more swayed, or it'll help you, in your case, prove your point that, okay, this is the market that we're trying to search and this is why, because this is their buying habits, this is how we can reach them, yada, yada, yada. And then next is the persona. A persona is basically you personifying your market. You build a brand persona to ideate your market. So, for example, here we have a user persona. So, for the demographics and the psychographics. Okay, so to put it simply, a user persona is you making up a person. You're pretending this person exists, but the thing is, this person actually does exist. And what I mean by that is that you're targeting people who have these specific qualities that you're looking for. So here we have a breakdown of the demographics and psychographics. So what exactly are demographics and psychographics? So demographics are external factors and descriptions of your audience, such as occupation, gender, age, and location. So from demographics alone, you can already narrow down the market that you want to target. And here in psychographics, it focuses more on the internal and psychological factors such as hobbies, interests, practices, and habits. So, oh my God, it's not moving. Wait, I apologize. Here we have Abby Lawson. So she is a 24-year-old female software engineer. So we can already see in the demographics here, it's more of an objective data. So you're targeting a specific age range of a specific gender and sometimes even a specific occupation. For example, if you're selling a software app or software in general, you want to maybe target a certain niche in that community. So you can find that in the demographics. And if you want to be more specific, you can narrow them down to the psychographics. So here you have an intention of what their habits will be and how you understand them from their habits. So for example, they like to surf on the weekends. Abby likes to travel cross country every month, and she's an avid fan of meditation and yoga. So for example, I'm Airbnb and this is my user persona. So this is the type of person that I want to attract with my market because she likes to surf, so she likes to travel. And when you find someone that is a traveler and is an avid fan of surfing, then you can almost guarantee that she will always, always, always look for places to stay. So this is the type of market that we're looking for. Okay, next one is marketing channels. In this segment, we're going to be a little more technical on marketing and the digital marketing space. So marketing channels. Here you present the type of marketing strategy you intend to take. So you need to justify why you think this will be the most effective media channel for capturing your audience. So a marketing channel, for those who might not have an idea of what it is when you penetrate a certain media or certain type of like channel for you to reach your audience. This may come in the form of television, radio, digital media, social media. So First off in the marketing channels is you need to research on your audience and how you can reach them. Again, emphasizing on my last point where you need to know who your target market is, you also need to know their habits. And what I mean by that is that you also need to know their digital habits. So if you're targeting someone with of a younger age, for example, someone who's around 15 to 20 years old, you need to know what channels they're most exposed to. Are they most exposed to TV? Are they most exposed to social media? And once you know and have an idea of what media channels they're most exposed to, you'll have an idea of where you can advocate for your ads and your marketing. Next one is strategize. Know the type of marketing strategy you want to accomplish. So there are multiple types of marketing strategies available, from digital to out of home to traditional. So again, going back to your audience, you need to know their habits and what they're exposed to. So for example, you're targeting jeepney drivers, and in this particular case, you can't guarantee that all of them have smartphones. So you have to look for another marketing strategy that can appeal to them. So think out of home strategy. Out of home strategy is when they're exposed to billboards, bus advertisements, LRT advertisements. So you need to strategize what channel works best for your audience. And then lastly, goals. Set goals for your marketing plan. What do you want to achieve by marketing this certain project or this certain service? What do you want to do when this happens? What do you want the audience and what do you want your target market to accomplish once they have been exposed to your ads and your marketing? So here we have an overview of the basic types of marketing channels. So we have digital, above the line, and below the line. So for digital, this is the most common and most used as of the moment, especially since the beginning of quarantine. So we have e-commerce. E-commerce is incredibly popular right now. So if you have no idea what e-commerce is electronic commerce. So that ranges from Shopee to Lazada to Zaffle, all of the online shops that you see right now, that's e-commerce. And the next one is social media. Social media is the most common type of digital space we have. In the Philippines, it can be browsed into two, which is YouTube and Facebook, but there are other social media platforms available, especially to younger audiences, such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and others. And then we have display ads. Display ads are the annoying ads that you see when you're on a website. So imagine you're reading a really, really interesting article on turtles, because I don't know, you like turtles. So you're really, really into that turtle, but then a pop up just appears on the side or in the center of your screen, and you're thinking, oh, this is so annoying. That's what you call a display ad. It's when ads are being shown in a website so you can see them on the sides or even at the top or even at the center. So those are display ads. And then, of course, websites are the more common type of digital space. And then we have influencer marketing, also another popular and upcoming digital channel. So think of large influencers like Mimi Ya, or if you're thinking internationally, Jenner, Kendall Jenner, and even other TikTok influencers. And then next we have above the line. So above the line is still somewhat modern, but not as used as digital. So above the line comprises of television, radio, and out of home. Now, out of home, as I've mentioned before, is when you're exposed to ads outside of your home. It's quite explanatory, actually. So, what I mean by this is you're exposed to ads that's not in the digital space. So, think of billboards, think of yung mga naka-plaster dyan sa gilid ng pader or nakalagay dyan sa LRT or sa likod ng bus, yung pinaka-common na out-of-home channels. And then lastly, we have below the line. So we have activation, events, in-store promotions, and traditional PR. So this is a more traditional type of marketing. So isipin nyo naglalakad na lang kayo sa Watsons, and then it turns out na may event yung Watsons, and that's how they're promoting their sale, and that's how they're promoting a certain product. Although they're not promoting this online, they're promoting it solely in the store. So it's more of the below the line type of marketing. So these are the type of marketing channels or marketing strategies that are available to you. So again, if you're going to be marketing to a certain audience, you have to know the type of marketing strategy that can cater the most or the best to your audience. And then we have a media campaign. So a media campaign is a coordinated marketing effort designed to encourage and reinforce a business goal. So focus on setting feasible goals for the entire run of the campaign. So a media campaign in this sense is when you're finally putting into action your marketing strategy. So imagine months of planning and actually years of planning and months of execution. And then this is when you finally can execute all of the planning and strategies that you've been researching for years or maybe a year. So it's typically done online with the help of technology and social media analytics. With the rise of popularity of social media, it's been much more easy or easier to be able to have analytics. So for example, in Twitter or in Google or in Instagram, there are analytics readily available for you. So you have an idea of the type of audience you attract from their gender to their age to their location. Again, demographics. So here we have the AIDA model. We're delving more into the marketing strategy. So an AIDA model stands for awareness, interest, desire, and action. So awareness, interest, desire, and action are the four phases that you need to follow if you're starting an ad campaign. So awareness, this makes users aware of the ad campaign. So naalala nyo ba, like for example, nung high school kayo, tas meron kayong trailer for No Limitang Here, ganyan. And then you guys will release a teaser. It's not the entire trailer, but it's just a teaser. So mga 5 seconds lang siya or less than 10 seconds, ganon. So that's a type of AIDA model or media strategy that's part of the awareness phase because you're making people aware na, uy, may pasabog pala yung ganyang section. Uy, may ganyan pala silang pasabog. So they're aware that you're trying to market something which builds to the next phase, which is interest. Now that they're aware na may something kayo, magiging curious yung mga tao. Parang, uy, ano yun? May play ba sila? Like, ano to? So this is the time na they incite interest among users. So once they're interested in something, kasi nga, nag-promote na kayo, they'll be more invested in whatever you're selling or whatever you're promoting. So once they've attracted interest, you've gained their attention, which is a good sign. But then from there, from interest, you need to have them phased into desire. So how do you do that? It really depends on the type of product or service that you have. So for example, isipin natin na minamarket mo COD Mobile, for example. And it's not a popular game. Let's think it's not a popular mobile game at the moment, but people are interested, but they don't have the desire for it yet. So think of an ad campaign that makes you think, okay, interested yung mga tao, but how do I make them want to get it? So, inisip mo, oh my God, ipapromote natin kay Aloja. Because Aloja is one of the biggest streamers in the Philippines as of the moment. So you're creating traction for it because you're creating popularity by gaining influencer marketing. So people are now interested, and when they see a Loja playing it, they're like, oh, parang ang galing, parang ang ganda pala ng game, ang ganda ng graphics, ganyan. So now you're building desire. Now people are desiring the product, and now they're desiring what they want. So it reinforces its value by encouraging users to desire your product. Now they're wanting it. Now they're wanting to attain your product. Or for example naman, may sale kayo, doon nag-drive yung desire na parang, oh, my 12-12 sale or my 11-11 sale. So this is what drives them to desire. And then lastly is action. So even though awareness, interest, and desire are achieved, the ultimate goal is for action. And in this case, action is taken by users after the ad campaign. Ano yung action na gusto mong gawin nila? Do you want them to purchase your product? Do you want them to go to your event? Do you want them to attend a certain cycling class? It really depends on what you're trying to sell here. But at the end of the day, you need something that will make the users want to attain the product that you're selling or the service that you're providing. So you need to think of a marketing or a strategy that will make them go from desire to action na parang, oh, gusto ko to, kukunin ko na. Okay, next one is art direction. So from here, we're going more into the visuals of a pitch deck. So an art direction is basically to give insight on the creative process behind the brand. So in this case, an art direction is basically just a visual explanation of how you branded your pitch. Process on your design choices. Of course, there's a difference between artists and designers, and in this case, when you're designing with a purpose, you're creating for a purpose. So bakit mo pinili yung gantong kulay? Is it because it incites this certain type of emotion or this certain type of experience or feeling? Why did you choose this type of typography? Is it because it caters more to their age, or is it because it caters more to how they're able to read? So you really need to have an explanation as to why you made all of these design choices. Secondly is mood board. A mood board gives a general idea on your visual direction. So kung gumagawa kayo ng mood board sa Pinterest, ganyan, syempre, guilty din ako, gumagawa din ako ng mood board. It gives you a general idea on what you want your brand to look like. Of course, nothing is tangible or nothing is gonna last permanently, so you want to have inspiration. So in this case, you might want to start by mood boarding. What are the things that you want to incorporate in your brand? What are the feelings that you want to incite? What are the things that make you want to say, oh, I want this because it caters to my audience? And then lastly, we have schemes. Elaborate on your typography and color schemes. In this case, as I've mentioned before, you need to have a reasoning as to why you created the design choices that you did. You need to have a direction, basically, of your design choices. Okay, it's not pressing. And then next one we have is this one. These are just samples of art direction and mood boards that you can see. This one on the upper left, I created myself. So I have here a color palette and my reasoning for it, and then I have the typography that I chose. So these are just the fun elements of pitch decking. And it's also a good way to show to your client what the visuals are going to be. So even though you're explaining all of this to them, it might be difficult for them to see because they don't have any tangible evidence as to how it's going to play out. So by providing visuals in your brand or your board, you're giving confidence to your client that, oh, this is what's going to look like. Oh, it's really magnetizing, it's really captivating. So essentially, again, you're selling yourself and you're selling your project. And then lastly is brand application. Brand application ties together with art direction, as I'll explain here. So brand application is the application of your visual brand through mockups. So again, it's basically selling your project to your client through through a vicarious type of imagery, and in this case through mockups. Again, it's giving your client an idea of what their project is going to look like. So it gives them hype, it gives them passion and enthusiasm for what you're pitching to them. So here you can see like different types of stationery in a grid type of branding. And then again here you can see tote bags and other stationery for the type of brand they're selling. So you can already tell the type of branding they have just from the typography and the color scheme. Okay, so taking away all of everything that I've explained, here are some key takeaways for you guys to remember. Bullet your points for easier comprehension. Again, this is more of a design tip that I'm going to give you guys. Follow the 676 rule. Don't put like too many words in one line because it's going to be tiring to look at. And if you can't, put bullet points so that it's easier for the client to read what you're pitching. Also, another design tip I have is that when you read, the natural reading direction of human eyes is through the shape of an F. So they read from here to here and then the first column that they see. They're not going to read everything. So if you want to put something important, put them in the first few lines of your pitch. And then keep your presentation short but concise. Again, don't over explain yourself, don't oversell yourself. Just tell your client what you want, like tell your client what they want to hear and what you're willing to give to them. So keep it short, but something that they are able to comprehend and be enthusiastic about. And keep it simple. You don't need to keep it too, how do I say it? Um, Large, or you don't need to make it too fancy or anything like that. In fact, if you make it more simple, the more your points are going to come across. And then next is we have to present through a story. Nothing sells more than presenting your pitch through a narrative because it shows the design process, or not necessarily the design process, but it shows the process of how you brainstormed your pitch all the way up to the mock ups and how you were able to end up with what you did. So in this case, the client has an idea of, oh, they really thought about this, oh, they really have an idea of what are the things that they want to sell to me. So be passionate about it and be enthusiastic, because even if you think that it's a dumb idea or it's not a very smart idea, you'd be surprised because a lot of clients actually get persuaded by the way that you talk about it and you're passionate and confident about it. Honestly, confidence is key, and that's all you need to take with you. So that's it for my presentation. I hope you guys took very insightful or educational tips from that. And yeah, thank you. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask them.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. And yeah, we can take questions from the audience. Everyone has the ability to unmute themselves. If you prefer to type in your question, you can also do that in the chat and we'll read it out.
Yeah,
And
you can type
again,
info.
yeah. And please follow her. The link is in the chat as well.
Oh my god, other people from festival are here. Sunasilki, hi! I miss you guys. I still remember you. I hope that was insightful.
Or since
Guys, feel free to ask. Oh, nice. You're working on a BTL. What makes a bad pitch deck or common mistakes that are often observed? Oh, okay. Well, personally for me, not necessarily bad, but something that's overlooked and I had trouble with too when I first started creating pitch decks was that some things were inconsistent. in terms of branding, and some things were unrealistic. And what I mean by unrealistic is that they're not feasible projects. So, for example, I want to cater to senior citizens, females aged 60 to 65. But then your digital marketing strategy would be social media on Instagram. Those are the things that you need to watch out for because they can be inconsistent and prove as loopholes in your plan. Because even then, like your client can tell now, oh, this isn't going to work because what senior citizen uses Instagram. If anything, they use Facebook, you know. um I guess just to be more aware of the people. Some people in my experience are often swayed by the visual aspect rather than the actual pitch itself. So my advice is for you to focus more on your audience and how you're going to reach your audience rather than the visuals, because even though you have a very aesthetic looking pitch deck, if it's not feasible or it's not realistic or it's not something that can be reached by your audience, then it loses the purpose. So just be aware of that. Just, I guess, like, know your audience. That's the very basic advice that I can give. When you, okay. When you present a pitch, Po, would you prefer it as a PowerPoint or a video? Oh, okay. Well, if you're gonna do a video, wow, effort. I haven't encountered anyone make a video, so I don't know how that will be unless they're just recording themselves. But for me personally, I'd rather have it done through a PowerPoint. Because even though the advantage you have for a video is that you're prepared for it or you're pre-prepared for it, the advantage that you have in presenting through a PowerPoint is that people get to hear you and speak to you and see you. And what I mean by that is that they get to experience the humanity and the narrative that you're giving them through presenting um, in person. So they're more engaged because you're giving them the enthusiasm and the passion that you have. Unlike in video, it's very planned, which is fine. But if you want something to feel organic and natural and free flowing and more welcoming, then a PowerPoint. Oh, yeah. Do you have a sample deck you've done in the past? Okay, this one, though it's more of a branding type of pitch deck. So wait, let me just pull it up. So the pitch deck that I'm about to show you guys is just a personal project that I did for a business of my family. So let me just share it real quick. Okay, so this is Eridar. Eridar is Bicolano for heritage. So it's a branding pitch deck by me. And here you can see already it's very organic, it's very nature centered. It's gonna be a long process if I pitch everything, so I'll just go through the slides. So of course, first impressions always last. So I made sure to make the title slide engaging and interesting to look at so people already have an idea what I'm selling or pitching. So introduction here, I gave a brief overview or background about the industry that I'm tackling. So for this project, I was working on tableo chocolate or hot chocolate in the Philippines. And here I was giving a background on the tableo chocolate industry in the locality. So again, introduction, you need a background for all of that. And then here I have my goals, my mission, vision. So what I want my brand to achieve, and just a brief overview of what it's about so my client knows what Eridar is. And then target market. I've already mentioned this one in my pitch, but this is a more this is a more elaborate version of it. So we have the demographic, We even have like an income and media income bracket for my target market. So here we just see the statistics of the people here. So we have gender, age range, location, characteristics, and I used Reese Lansangan for my photo as my user persona. So her name is Anna Rodriguez. She's female, 26, finance assistant. She lives in Pasig, income of 29K, characteristics. So again, by creating a user persona, you have a better idea with the type of target market you're trying to reach. And for this one, it's just basically the same, but it's a secondary target market. The difference between a primary and a secondary target market is primary is initially the type of person that you want to attract. And then the secondary is just like, oh, I also want to attract this person, but it's not as prioritized as much. And then brand advocacy. This one I focused more on the verbal tone of the brand that I have. Again, this is more on branding than it is about media. So this one talks a lot about the type of voice that they'll be using for copywriting, visual tone, organic, rustic, modern. So again, you can see that by the colors I chose and the illustrations I made. Again, art direction. This one, the color palette I chose was a mixture between cool tones and a hint of warm tone, which is the sandy brown. My client wanted something that was unisex or something that catered to or appealed to both men and women. So I made sure to have it more on the cool tone side. And then since they also wanted something organic, I chose a serif font, which is Beirut display. And then here are just some elements that I created, illustrations. Again, they wanted something natural and organic. So this one, instead of using vectors, I use my tablet for this. So it's chocolate, twigs, and cocoa beans. Again, a lot of elements that pertain to cocoa. So cocoa trees, so the leaves, the branches, all of that to reinforce the branding that it has. And here are just a few logo studies that I created. There were probably more that I did, but these were the ones that made the cut. So I wanted to incorporate the letter H in a cocoa bean. So there is a letter H here in the middle. I tried to make it legible as much as I can. And then here we're moving more on to the mock-ups. And my client wanted two types of labels, the one with chocolate and the one without. So these are just the mock-ups of what they wanted it to look like. And yeah, that's it. It's more of branding than it is marketing.
That
Do you
was
have any
so
questions?
beautiful. Yeah, it was so lovely. If anyone else has questions, again, feel free to comment or unmute yourself and ask.
I, how did you? Oh, si Kira. Hi, Kira. Shout out to my friend Kira. How did you become interested in doing pitching deck slash branding? Oh, so Kira, alam mo na to. Blockmates tayo. But yeah, I've always been interested in branding, more so when I was in high school and college. But I never really wanted to do it until I was exposed to it. That's when I was like, yep, this is what I wanted to do. So I'd say maybe around college. The idea was there in high school, but then it just solidified when I entered college because it was exactly what I wanted it to be. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So taking a design course really solidified that dream for me. I've always wanted to be like an art director or something. I just like the idea of incorporating art and people. So a lot of what branding does is it puts people in the center. So you're not just branding for the sake of making it look pretty. You're branding for the sake of it telling the story of the creators of the restaurant or telling the story of the creators of the business. So you're telling two stories here. You're telling the story of the brand you're selling or the company you're representing, and you're also selling to the type of people that would purchase this type of service or this type of product. What slash who were your inspirations in becoming a graphic designer? Oh my god. Um, who are my inspirations? I remember I've always been into art ever since I was a kid. I mentioned that I was kind of a loner when I was in kindergarten. I was always by myself and I was always doing arts and crafts by myself. I never really socialized with anyone. I like to keep to myself and do art. But then eventually, of course, I ended up making friends. And then my love for art just kept reinforcing itself throughout my elementary and high school years. Actually, the reason why I took up multimedia is because I couldn't focus on just one type of medium. My design journey started from illustration and then I shifted to photography in high school because I took up a photography class. No, I was in a photography club in high school, and then I shifted my interest to videography, and then videography shifted to graphic design, and then graphic design shifted to illustration. So I was really interested in the entire spectrum, which is why I was very keen on taking multimedia arts. But if we're talking about inspirations, uh, the person that I can think at the top of my head right now um, is Jade Purple Brown. She is a black woman. She is a designer based in New York City. She started off as a fashion designer, actually. She never took up arts, and then eventually through illustrating she realized that illustrating was her passion, so she basically took on the role of a designer and an illustrator instead of being a fashion designer. But in terms of locality, there are a lot of really good designers out there. One inspiration I can also think of is Kitty Hardinil. She's one of my friends from CSB. She's incredibly talented. She's been a great letterist ever since she was high school. She has a great following. Like follow her at Kitty Hardinil. She's really really good and she's so kind. She's basically my age, but she's already so established in the design world and she's so inspirational. So I love you, Kitty. You're so inspirational. But yeah, actually there are a lot of local illustrators that I like. We have PNGN at the GN Encarnacion. We also have Mitch Cervantes, which I've always followed her. Her style's very distinct. She was also from CSB. And then who else? Actually, a lot of the people that I like are from my school. I'm just gonna shout out all my friends. Isti, Mintelli Art, Mintelli. Also si Amanda's what's her, I don't know her at, but yeah. A lot of inspiration actually comes from Filipino women as well. To see Filipino women excel in graphic design and illustration is really inspirational because you really see yourself in them and you feel represented in them. Ang dami kong sinabi, sorry. Padaldal. OMG, Kitty went to my high school, one of the only good people. Oh my god, wow! You know Kitty pala, Chia. There, Jihui. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Yeah, that's Amanda. She's really good. What are your tips for anyone interested? Okay, this is a good question actually. What are your tips for anyone interested in creative fields who isn't in art school? Yeah, that's the sad thing is not everyone can afford or was allowed by their parents to take up a creative course, of course, because of either financial issues or personal issues. But all I can say is the design industry is all about your talent and your skill, not your ACADS. Like, you don't have to worry about you having maybe a nursing background or an engineering background and not having any professional background in the industry. It's okay because a lot of designers still make an income out of being designers simply for their talent, simply for their portfolio, simply for their skills. So it's never an ostracizing type of industry. Never like, just be yourself basically. Just keep on practicing your talent, practicing your skill, and eventually you'll attract the right type of people as long as you sell yourself well. Again, it's the same as pitching. You're selling yourself. So just keep on creating. That's the most advice that I can give, is that you should never sell yourself short. Keep doing what you're doing. If you really want to pursue a creative career, you can. Because again, it's all about the passion and creativity and the skill. It's never always going to be about the grades. So it's okay, guys. You can still pursue a career even if you're not in a creative field. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep drawing.
Thank you
But
so
yeah.
much.
Thank you, Chia. You're so nice.
No, thank you so much for your time and for putting this amazing pitch deck workshop together. I know you come from a creative background, but then I feel like, startups, even we're supposed to be supposed masters at pitch deck building, can learn a lot from your tips. And everything you've outlined is so useful and so applicable. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon. Thank you for everyone who listened in.
Thank you, guys.
Hope you all have a good day. After the workshop, we can share slides, and the recording is now up on Facebook. So if ever you want to rewatch and dig into the info again, feel free to do so on our Facebook page. And again, this workshop is part of Developh's festival series, where we create for those who can't and are using our skills as creatives and technologists to support those students who aren't able to make right now. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.